Boys, be brutally honest. What makes a girl attractive instantly? Being naturally funny to the point we can just riff and both be laughing up. I met one girl in my life that would have me constantly needing, so I invited her out to the bar since all our mutual friends were going out. We spent all night just making jokes and trolling men who would approach her. Man, I never wanted to pop a ring in someone's finger faster, I swear. To keep it private, I'll call her Sarah here. So Sarah and I hung out one more time the very next day at a small gathering at a friend's house. Again, we spent the whole night pretty much making everyone laugh and just having a good, positive, funny time. Good music, good people, lots of drinks to go around, and new people to meet. Even met some of her close friends there, and we all got along really well. Everyone started to get tired since it was around 5 a.m., so we all made our way back to our cars, getting ready to head home. In the parking lot, we exchanged numbers or social media and what have you. We did end up texting a bit, trying to hang out again, but our schedules were a little hectic and couldn't get together. Within a week, Sarah went ghost on social media and no longer responded via text. I reached out to one of her close friends. Come to find out, we went to the same middle school and asked what happened to her if she had at least heard from her. Apparently, Sarah had some family drama occur and had to move to the West Coast. She deleted her socials and changed her number. Even her friends could hardly get in touch with her. After that, I never heard from her again. It's definitely awful that it had to end so abruptly like that, but I sure do cherish the experience. I haven't had that much fun and connection with a woman since. That's actually a pretty awful ending because it'll probably haunt him forever. Story 2. Being emotionally vulnerable. It's not just guys that are cold in this world. Women can be ruthless and mean for no logical reason. Not just men. I'm not asking for your life sob story in a first date, but I am attracted to people who treat themselves and others like humans, like emotional beings. None of us like being reserved and cold. Not many are brave or courageous enough to risk being hurt at the possible reward of being connected to others. It's not the cold, stoic, tough people who are brave. They're often just traumatized and unwilling to process their stuff. It's the people who can get their things handled and move on in the world with an even kinder view on others who are brave. We've all been hurt by someone. That doesn't mean the new people who stumble across you in their journey will do the same. Simultaneously, people you've only known for 2 weeks can treat you better than the people you've known for 2 decades. Time means nothing. Not everyone is guilty and worth hating on just because one or a few people screwed you over. Being kind is the only way to get connected. Story 3. Not being afraid of being you. Own it. Because what makes people good looking is mostly subjective. Be the person that subjectively changes someone's outlook into thinking that exactly who you are is attractive. I've seen all kinds of people to be attractive. The one correlating factor has been genuineness, when people are themselves and own who they are. You can tell through their whole sense of body language, the way they move, the way they talk, and so on. This is so incredibly attractive. You can be generic and talk about body types, and sure, it is attractive. A good-looking face is appealing. Very superficially speaking, though. There are layers to attractiveness outside of that. Meanwhile, do not get me wrong, different things appeal to different people. Some men like curvy girls, some like smart girls, some like trendy girls, some like girls with especially good hygiene. In the end, what you need to focus on is to be the best version of yourself and learn to love who you are. You take care of your skin, you go to the gym, at least somewhat, and you work on yourself. Find clothes you like, not based on brand or price, but rather based on what looks good. Color combinations, etc. Emphasize on who you are, on your character and what you like, and you will find somebody like-minded and good-looking to you. Think of it like this. If you take care of your looks, you deserve someone taking care of theirs. If you're mature, you deserve someone who's mature, etc. You know what is attractive? Confidence is attractive. This is the main lesson. Do not focus on one particular guy. Just be your own attractive self, the best version of yourself, and be around people, and people will attract you. It is inevitable. As you do this, maybe not the first one, or the second one, or the third one, or even the fourth one, but one guy that you really like is going to attract you. You guys will be great together. Wait over answer a post. Either way, I hope it helped. Good luck. Story 4. It depends on a lot of factors. When I was younger, it was their melons. Plain and simple. Specifically those big, fake Pam Anderson melons. I'm not proud of it. I could see a girl and she wouldn't really pique my interest until suddenly she took off that coat or turned around and bam, melons. My interest could swing from a 4 all the way to a 9. Likewise, women who were less endowed but were otherwise incredibly gorgeous, they also had less time for that. As I've aged, I've noticed the physical attention getters have changed a lot. Maturity, I think, goes a long way to generalize and broaden my list of appreciated body shapes. Looking back now, all the women I previously discounted, like Jennifer Aniston, for example, I just shake my head at myself. Melons are absolutely not everything, but they still help. Point is, I think young men will often be fixated on one or two specific body parts and their size or shape or whatever. It's like only being able to drink light beer or Jack and Coke. There's a whole spectrum of things out there to be appreciated. You just have to let your taste mature. I will say, though, that at least for me, and since at least my mid-20s, I can fall hard and fast for a woman who demonstrates an incredible ability or skill or competence. We're talking about dumping 3 to 4 whole points on them if they can sing, dance, run a company, rebuild a car engine from scratch. The standout intelligence is incredibly powerful in making a woman attractive. Story 5. Warm smile and a little goofiness. People tend to be very empathetic to women's emotions, much more so than most people recognize. A woman with a warm smile is almost a superpower of bringing joy and warmth around her. Most women, though, are so scared of being seen as an idiot or being humiliated that they stop just short of actually capitalizing on this. Sort of like how guys tend to stop just short of a similar sort of masculine energy that can make them crazy attractive. My fiancé is one of these. Kids, adults, it doesn't matter. They can have the worst day ever and she can come in and immediately change the energy around them. She never pressures anyone to cheer up. She lets them do their own thing, but with kids especially, you will often see them fighting against a smile because they know they still want to be cranky, but she just made the energy so joyous it's hard not to smile. When she does this, not only am I just insanely attracted to her, but my heart melts so hard. Story 6. Biologically, we men are turned on by or attracted to big melons because they are a sign that women can nurse a child. Wide hips because, if I remember correctly, it makes the birthing process smoother and less likely for complications. Personally, though, meeting women who I'm pretty is their whole personality is an instant turn-off. I've met some of the nicest and gorgeous women and they're wonderful friends, but their personality is vapid or just kinda 2D. It shows me they don't think much about the things that I do, like what is this specific life's lesson I must learn before I pass away, or what is consciousness, or just any philosophical musings at all. I personally want a partner that I could talk about deep topics with, a woman who has a hobby, an interest, or creative abilities instantly 1,000 times more attractive. It makes her a lot more interesting. But I create music and do basic graphic design or video editing myself, so having someone with creative ventures of their own would allow us to play off each other's strengths, which I think is a very overlooked and underappreciated thing. I don't know, or maybe I'm insane and I'm alone. Story 7. Women are judged on their looks. Everything else comes secondary. If you're fat and unattractive, I do not care how good your personality is or how smart you are or how funny you are, etc., etc. By the way, ladies, men don't care how much money you make. Any man who's a catch to a female makes plenty of money. A woman will never look a broke man's way, but a man will easily date a girl who's broke and work at McDonald's, as long as she's very attractive, because for men, looks come first. Men are judged primarily on the status they have and the resources they can provide. Looks come secondary. Men and women aren't the same. What makes a woman attractive to a man, qualities, etc., are not the same as the things that make men attractive to women. Ladies, to be attractive to a man, just be fit, feminine, friendly. Story 8. What guys want in a girl is far, far simpler than 99% of girls think, but probably 1,000 times harder to do than they probably think. Make a guy feel good about himself, helping him to be a better person, not fixing him, but giving him a reason to strive to be better. Be somebody he's proud to show off. Take home to his mom, bring out to a work event. Be clean, healthy, fashionable. Be easy to be around. Don't fill your life with drama. Be somebody who can dress up and dress down as the occasion calls. What guys do not care about, your specific level of education, how much money you make, how successful you are. I know far more very wealthy guys that marry girls with barely a high school diploma that are nice, good women. Then I know wealthy men who marry highly educated girls. Story 9. Being independent. A lot of women, at least in my eyes, and I believe in many other men's, have a tendency to make their relationship the primary focus of their life and go from self-reliant to leaning on the partner. Effectively, they start letting their partner take control and be the one who makes decisions for you as a couple, like the classic, what do you want to eat? I don't know, you decide. But for more serious things as well, not just food and simpler things. So a woman who keeps being the boss, keeps making decisions, and maybe even a bit stubborn about her opinions versus her partner's opinions can be very attractive. A woman who is in control and both knows what she wants and makes it known clearly. I don't want someone who's heavily dependent on me, but someone who is an equal in most, if not all things. Big bonus points if she's a nerd too, but that's just me. Story 10. Honestly, as a guy, I'm not the best at explaining this, but honestly, it's just being unapologetically you. Not what others want. Everything else comes secondary. I met my girlfriend in person 3 years ago, this Valentine's Day. Yes, cliche. We met on Bumble on the 12th. Started chatting, and it wasn't just hardcore flirt dating app stuff. It had substance to it. Of course, being Bumble, there was some physical attraction, but honestly, I can't even tell you. There was just something incredibly interesting about her, and I wanted to just keep talking. Decided to meet up as she was babysitting not far from a downtown tavern I love to go to. I decided to meet up for a drink when she was done. I wore a nice shirt, wanted to make a good first impression. She ends up being 30 minutes late because the kids' parents didn't get home in time, so I had no time to go home and freshen up. My first in-person view of her was her in a sweatshirt and Lulu's with her hair in a bun. Nothing was said other than, "I'm so sorry I'm late," which of course at this time we were texting about, so whatever. Immediately hit it off. We were there for what felt like hours, eating, having drinks, talking about our jobs, plans, etc. She's in nursing school and pursuing an RN position at the local hospital in the labor and delivery ward. I definitely saw how she talked and knew she had to drive and was a good person. Of course, first time nerves happened, and her being a light drinker got her a little buzzed over dinner. Plus her friend who was a bartender came to find out, and we got a couple of drinks in the house. Getting ready to leave, I see her keys fumble, and I then ask for her address as I knew she didn't live far away but wanted to drive her home versus her driving. I take her home, walk her to the door, and I can honestly say as someone who, admittedly, definitely had a phase after leaving my ex, the thought didn't even cross my mind. I wanted to continue to see her, not be a stand, let alone the fact we were drinking. She went inside and I showed up the next morning to drive her to her car. She apologized the entire 15-minute car ride to me for making a terrible impression. Honestly, it was the opposite. I saw her real self. The no makeup, not trying to impress anyone. Nothing was fake. She just nervously drank a wee too much. Been there, done that. Don't tell me you haven't. I actually deleted the app that night because of her. Had no desire to talk to anyone else. Ended up finding out a year later she did too. Don't get me wrong, she looks stunning when she gets all done up. She enjoys the gym, so she's actually more fit now than when we met. She does dress nice. She's even more stunning when she's just relaxing at home in an oversized hoodie and sweats. She's her 100% true self around me. Her and I spent the next several months getting to know each other even more and then made it official and became a couple. She's extremely hardworking and determined to reach her goals in life and her schooling and career. She's a funny person, fantastic with kids, definitely stubborn and thick-skulled, and while that makes us clash sometimes, I love it about her. Most of all, she's her. She's everything I've ever wanted. We've had many ups and downs, as a usual couple does. Her and I both have depression and anxiety and handle it different ways, but know how to help the other. In fact, she was a driving factor in me talking to someone about it. As a guy, I bottled that up, and I know it's unhealthy. She got me to open up about it. She's gone bad parts too, but it's led to our favorite quote that also sums up why I'm so attracted to her. If you can't be with me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. I met her, according to her, looking her worst. I've been there for her stressful nights of school, nearly 20-hour shifts at work, anxiety and or depression episodes, and every other low. And because of that, I see her at her best. Her smile, the memories we make in our house together. Bought my first house a little over a year ago, and she came with. Our 2 dogs, being with her family, friends, etc. She's exactly who she says she is. There is nothing fake. And even as I type this rambling BS on my phone, she's laying next to me in bed, asleep with no makeup. Her hair is in a messy bun braid. Pretty sure she gave up halfway through and went to bed. And honestly, I wouldn't have her any other way. And I know she's my person. I've met a lot of fake people in life, so knowing I have the one who is sometimes overly truthful and unapologetically herself is what makes me love her. Everything else comes secondary. I was instantly attracted to her because she wasn't hiding who she was. Turns out her being late and looking all sweaty was the best first impression she could have made. Story 11. Alright, I'll be brutally honest. I'll start by saying that there are 3 parts to your question, but if you want a quick answer, confidence, kindness, being comfortable with herself, sense of humor, wit. Looks are too subjective to take into account. Long version. What does a woman do that catches my attention? Visibility. Not being shy, not trying to hide. Very beautiful women manage to do this by simply being, well, beautiful. But any woman becomes visible the moment she steps in my field of view or initiates an interaction. Do this. What makes a woman attractive? Like, genuinely attractive? Confidence, kindness, comfortable with herself, sense of humor and wit. Case in point, a friend of mine. If I was looking at her on the street, bar, or anywhere else, I'd quickly dismiss her as just another slightly alternative girl. Then I met her. She's confident, comfortable with herself, has a good sense of humor, and is witty. It also helps that she isn't shy at all about making tasteful, dirty jokes. So someone who seemed pretty generic is now a 10 out of 10 in my eyes. What makes me fall for a woman? Other than attractiveness, her personality, being a genuinely good person, being interesting, hobbies and interests, core values, we agree on the important things, etc. To build upon the second point, yes, looks do help, but not in the way you think. If you take care of yourself and put in minimum effort in your appearance, you're gonna look great. Only a select few are too unfortunate, and even those might get lucky if they put in the effort. Because ultimately, what's gonna seal the deal is what I mentioned before. Story 12. Number 1. Chemistry. I have this joke of an invention idea that I tell a lot of people. It's a joke, so everyone's response was, "That's so stupid, awful, terrible," which is what I aim for. So yeah, funny. But this one girl, I told her my idea, she laughed like everyone else and said, "But what if you added such and such?" Felt like she was the only one in the whole city who got my sense of humor and could match my tones. I didn't even realize it until we said bye for the day. Number 2. Anticipating needs or wants. We worked together and we all were getting coffee, which I needed because my day wasn't the best. Only the barista made it wrong. Me, being in a sour mood, threw it out and went about my day saying, "No worries, it's just coffee." When I clearly wasn't okay, but didn't want to talk about it. 5 minutes later, she shows up next to me with my coffee order corrected. I was just speechless and said thanks. I just stood there and enjoyed the best cup of coffee I ever had. I really fell for that girl. It did not end well. The city is all rushed with people doing their best to make the goals of the day, so it's those simple things that slow it down and make you appreciate when someone thinks of you. Story 13. Back during high school, after moving out of a traumatic childhood and attending school in a new place with new classmates, speaking a language I didn't have a hint of, I ended up being very ignorant about others' opinions or emotions to the point that I would do whatever I thought was best for me. I was not a schmuck, mind you, but I was not really caring about whether I had good clothes, whether my toe was sticking out of my school shoe, all that. I scored nearly full marks back then, so others couldn't really do anything to me, and teachers didn't mind my physical appearances. Moving into 8th grade and having a class reshuffle because of the subjects I chose, I got selected as a class captain and a girl as the vice captain. Now, she was very good, very silent, hardworking, and a gorgeously strong athlete. Meanwhile, I was thin AF, tanned from working at a fast food stall during my not class time, pale clothes and a torn shoe along with being lanky, compared to the rest, which it just gives me this absolute eye candy of a look for the rest of the week, to the point of absolutely staring into my ribcage. Up until then, I was unfazed by several beauties teasing me or whatever, but the whole week of her just silently gazing at me made me think of her for oh so long. Ending. I eventually had to move out into another school with better facilities, a hostel to live at and no fees, and I didn't see her except for a few times every couple of years when I came back home to visit. Now I'm working in a company in a completely different area and have no contact or news. Just hope she found someone better, or is living a fulfilled life. I don't know. Story 14. When I was young, I thought I had a type, but as I got older and had more experience, I realized I liked girls who liked me. That was the common thread. I wonder why. Strictly physically speaking, though, I like girls who are what I call uniquely beautiful. My go-to example is Anne Hathaway. Her mouth is too wide, her eyes are too narrow, and her nose is weird, yet no one would think she's anything less than stunning. And no one mistakes her for anyone else. She's uniquely beautiful. Other examples are Liza Minnelli and Emma Stone. And to drive the point home, Jennifer Grey before the nose job, and Dirty Dancing. Compare that to a model, they all look the same. None of them are memorable in any way. They're just common beauties. Story 15. Hard to describe, but instantly recognizable. A combination of flirty, smart, confident, interested, in me, a little vulnerable, but also strong. I know this seems like many different things, but it really isn't. It's an attitude or approach to life and everyone around. It's fun, but not vapid. It's confident, but not witchy. It's smart, but not condescending. She has a twinkle in her eye that says she's light in mood and interesting to be around, but the vocabulary and word choice that says under that lightness is infinite substance of purpose and intelligence, and compassion and ruthless strength if necessary. But again, this all can be seen in an instant, and it doesn't always look the same. Don't feel like you don't have it. You very well may, your own version. You don't have to have it all together to be this way. Loose ends, problems, issues, weaknesses, and all that can be part of it. It's just also owning those things, accepting them, while also being willing to work on them, but not caring all that much. I don't know what the hell I'm babbling about. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 16. Late to the party, and not the first time I share this story, but a kind person, a genuinely kind person, not looking to show off or to attract attention. Saw a guy once in a park, sitting there, looking down at his feet. Wasn't crying, but his eyes looked like he cried for a long while. Didn't seem homeless, but looks like he hadn't showered or shaved his beard for a long while. And I am willing to bet he smelled of drinks as well. There was a young couple passing by, both very well dressed. The woman saw the sad, dirty guy, instantly went over to him, got on her knees, hugged him, and tried to comfort him. It was definitely not an act to impress her husband, because her husband actually was obviously uncomfortable with her down to her knees, hugging and comforting a guy with most likely a worse income than them. He didn't straight up say it, but it was obvious he wanted her to get away from the guy. Kept telling her that they were in a hurry and that they don't have time to lose. So if nothing else, she didn't impress her husband. She just made him disgusted. Her response, she didn't move or say a word. She just stared at him as if she was disappointed and angry at the same time. That is how it looked to me, at least. She remained on her knees in the same position, comforting him until the sad dude tapped on her shoulder and gave her a forced smile. Didn't know who the woman was, who the sad guy was, or even how he ended like that. But one thing is for certain. I fell in love with that woman right then and there. That woman in the park, comforting a stranger in need, showed what compassion really looks like. Story 17. Kindness, and the feeling of being noticed. Girls need to know that 80% of all men are basically invisible. If you go into any club, how many men are sitting there every day completely unnoticed? No one cares about them. The other 20% are men that are good-looking, have humor, are big and strong, have a lot of money, have big influence, and or are successful. They get all the girls. As you can see, men need to work hard in order to get noticed. And if people were kinder to each other, especially to invisible men, their confidence would rise and they would work harder to achieve popularity. You have no idea how much you can do just by having a better attitude. A single smile will make a man's day. A couple of years ago, I was in a very depressing phase. Then this 50-year-old lady smiled at me in the grocery store and changed my attitude for the rest of the day. The next day, I started hitting the gym again. To me, what makes a girl unbelievably attractive is positivity, emotional support, and please don't start stressing your husband after he got home from work. That's so depressing. And if he has a short temper, which is, by the way, caused by stress, it can lead to arguments and fights. Just be kind, supportive, and caring, and the man will love you. And don't forget to smile. Story 18. A mischievous smile. Please forget about push-up garments, makeup, hair dye, etc. You think these are attractive to us because you use your own thinking of what makes a girl more envied among other girls. Guys don't mind hair dye or makeup. Look at Chloe Moretz. She's way more attractive than many babes in clips that want to look attractive. Do you know what's not attractive? Those babes with pumped-up lips and big eyes that look directly into the camera as if to say, "See, I'm attractive." Readily available and obvious is not sexy. You want me to be brutally honest with you? If you want to be attractive, use restraint. Be kind, but sometimes a bit sassy. Learn how to listen and add smart remarks. Don't try to outdo and outtalk guys. 21st century or not, guys still have a drive that they are the stronger gender and they need to protect women. Looking vulnerable is sexy. Being a bit insecure, a bit hard to get is sexy. Being caring and thoughtful is sexy. Be self-confident, but sometimes look a bit shy and ask for help in ways that make guys feel strong. E.g., when you need to carry something, or act that you're afraid to walk alone in the evening. Compliment guys. Give them opportunities to touch you. E.g., you can complain that your back hurts and you could use a little massage. Be the traditional and conservative quiet girl, but at the same time, give some signals that express your mischievousness. Also wear your hair in a ponytail. Also, and this is just personal, but you have no idea how many guys have a thing for feet. If you sympathize with this, wear ballet flats or sandals that expose some part of your foot and dangle your shoes. You'll immediately notice that some guys stare at them. If you feel like it, you can give them a smile. Story 19. Smile with intent and eye contact. That's pretty much the universal if you have a moment to chat. Also, if you actually like someone, being able to sit in silence and enjoy the moment without saying anything is perfection. Decisiveness with regard to the setting. I personally don't like small talk unless it's leading me somewhere. An actual turn-off for me is when making small talk with the intent of trapping or soliciting a personal advance. That's why setting and decisiveness is key. Getting tricked into a trap makes everyone resemble, or repeat that person a triggering presence. Story 20. Her ability to speak and what she has to say. I'm not looking for any pseudo-deep talk, especially if it's the first time we met, but I also get turned down by a lot when a woman has the ability to speak for a lengthy time without saying anything of relevance. I can say that because back in college I met this gorgeous woman, pretty face, slim, that also seemed interested in me. I'm not ugly, but not handsome either, so I started talking to her, and all the attraction was lost. Worst hour of my life, hearing her talk about the most mundane stuff she could think about. Judge if you will, but I swear that having something to say and learning how to say it in a timely manner goes a long way. Also giving us an honest compliment. Girls compliment each other constantly. What they don't realize is that most men or boys go weeks or months, some even years, without ever hearing a compliment on anything. So if a girl compliments a boy, he'll ride that one compliment for months or years and will remember how good that felt. When I was still in high school, a very sweet girl said to me, you always wear such nice smelling cologne. Whenever I walk by, I always notice. You have really good taste. Decades later, I still think about that girl and that compliment. Story 21. You can talk to her every single day about absolutely anything. And when you're not near her, you call her and talk till tomorrow. You could be talking about your favorite show, which is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or about penguins, and you would just enjoy what she has to say about it. Because apparently she likes all of those things. Whenever you goof around with her, that's when you're actually the happiest. You get so lost when you're with her that people in town where you're at stop and stare, and when you notice, they're smiling. Her mother thinks the world of you, and apart from everyone else who she has met or heard about, she thinks that you're the one she would want to be with her daughter. She really approves of you. And when you look at her beautiful face, you get so lost in her. She's just a marvel to look at. Her face is actually the best thing that you love about her. When she smiles, it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. That smile that I think only Haruki Murakami can best describe. She's so smart and intelligent and the most passionate person you've ever met. When she talks about what she loves, you just pause and get dumbstruck. In love. Can't believe I lost Rosa. Story 22. Her body and wearing tight clothes. But also if I'm going off about some weird stuff and she kind of walks with me through the psychotic modes of thinking, we bounce ideas off of each other for a significant amount of time. I will 100% remember her for a long time. The best thing about it is that they can't fake interest or a certain way of thinking necessary for such an interaction to take place. They can't draw me in. They can't pretend to be in that mindset. They can't educate themselves into seeming like someone that would have this conversation. It has to be genuine. It can't be any other way. And as such, we both have a moment where our mutual loneliness is quenched for a moment because it feels like we finally found another real person for a while. I'll long for her later in my life, but both our lives feel that much more significant and richer afterwards. And we both know it. Then they key my car or disappear without a trace or try to harm me or themselves. The intimacy is great though. Story 23. My wife is exceptionally attractive and adorable when she works hard to make a joke with me. Also, when she, for any reason, be it birthdays, Christmas, etc., decides to get me something really thoughtful. Fun story. One day she went off saying she had a doctor's appointment. When she took longer than I expected, I called her and her nervous voice said that she was driving and would be home soon. Odd, I thought. But she's a nervous driver, so easy to ignore. Anyways, when she gets home, I go and greet her at the door, and she's being coy about something she's holding wrapped in a bunch of newspapers. I, being a schmuck that I am, probed and prodded and realized it's something that I had liked at a store weeks before, but didn't buy as I'm cheap on myself. She was trying to hide it from me, and I ruined her surprise. Anyways, the fact that someone would go to all this trouble just for me is, in my opinion, a very attractive trait. I guess the moral for my story is that A, attractiveness is subjective. B, it takes time to even figure out what you find attractive, so don't diss at someone just because they don't fit into your assumption of attractiveness. Sometimes it takes a little knowing to figure out just how special someone is. Story 24. Pretty face, nice body, good attitude, warm, sincere, engages in the conversation openly, doesn't have a bug about men, etc. Well-dressed or presented, relative to the situation or surroundings. A black cocktail dress with a low-cut back will always get my attention in a date in an upscale bar or restaurant.
would be way too much for a cozy home-cooked dinner and movie night. Context is key, and how she presents herself through clothes, makeup, etc. tells me whether she understands how to move in different social contexts, and that she understands her own appeal without it being a crutch. If she's constantly wearing excessively revealing clothes, she likely lacks social boundaries in general. And if she constantly dresses in an overly conservative way, then she comes off as dull. A lady with class and style can show her sensual and sexy side while being socially appropriate to the environment, caring or nurturing. All that stuff that suggests she'd make a supportive girlfriend and, down the line, a good mother, even if that's not a conscious thought initially. Receptive, as in she actually wants to give chances for romance to develop. Some women are taught, by single, miserable women no less, to act like the prize and not give the men anything to work with or for. They assume their mere existence makes them worth pursuing, but they can actually drive men away with their haughty, holier-than-thou demeanor. I'm not saying she should have zero agency in how and when things progress, but an attractive woman to me is a woman who has some base-level appreciation for the guy's attempts at wooing her, even if she's not quite ready to move things forward physically or emotionally. If she's throwing up stop signs before the guy's even opened his mouth, then chances are she will forever view him as an offending attacker to be dismantled and resisted, rather than a guy she wants to get to know better and pursue at least the possibility of romance. Story 25. All of the generically good-looking stuff actually works. Reach some critical mass of that, plus pay attention to and show interest in the guy you're interested in, and he'll probably be attracted to you. When in doubt, pretty face plus not obese works. Honestly, most guys are pretty easy, and most girls are overthinking it. If you have one or two above average traits, we'd probably be together. Even if you don't really fit into most generically pretty categories, we like things like a nice voice or unusual hairstyle. Don't be afraid to make the first move in terms of actual first move. Saying hi or smiling and twirling your hair don't count. Complimenting him boldly or asking him out count. If you don't feel rejected if it doesn't work, then it doesn't count as a move. It's just ambiguous conversation. Also being engaging and having an interesting personality. Obviously, there are physical characteristics like long black or brown hair, dark eyes, cute face, etc. But if you're a paperweight beyond that, my mind will immediately go, oh no, she's a moron. Nothing reels me in more than a woman who seems interested in discussion, contributes to it, has a sense of humor, and doesn't make it a chore for me to carry the conversation. Having their own quirks, hobbies, opinions, etc. also makes it interesting to hear their input and discover them. You would be amazed at how many women don't do any of that. They think looking pretty and letting you talk is enough. This is the exact equivalent of the meathead guy, for women. Sure, they're fun to look at, but that's about it. Story 26. Physically, I like hair tucked beneath the ears for some reason. Personality, direct statements in an honest fashion. Example, I like blah blah blah. You should get me one for my birthday next month. Then a repeat that her birthday's next week. The key to both of these, though, is you have to get a guy's attention before you make a direct statement because, yeah, we don't listen. If we like you, a lot of your speech is processed as pleasant, but maybe not information. How do you know we're paying attention? Not sure eye contact is important, but not necessarily enough. Use your best judgment and remember we are capable of thinking both nothing at all and things that have no bearing. If you ask what we're thinking, this will also elicit the nothing answer. Overall looks, we're honestly not as picky as women think. We don't care that much about makeup or how fashionable your outfit is. If you're not obese and your clothes fit, that's good enough for most guys. Then if you have a positive attitude, then that's an instant turn on. Most guys are used to girls who are reasonably attractive being very standoffish. I understand they have their reasons, so when a pretty girl is friendly, it stands out. Also, no drama. Accepting that we're all human and we make mistakes without trying to start or imply or do something. Admittance of error. Appreciation of effort. No signals. This is the male mental wavelength, okay? This is not how we prefer to function. This is how we function. We communicate with one another so well because we mean what we say. Our friends are our friends because we don't think the other is out to get us. We don't take offense to simple mistakes, and we respect that the other can make mistakes. This basic respect is how men function. Those who violate these rules are people we don't like, and get this, we don't associate with those schmucks unless we absolutely have to. Coworkers, neighbors, etc. Story 27. Ode to the last few women I've accidentally fallen in love with. She was a vendor at a farmer's market, and she just randomly started dancing to a Celtic cover of a Taylor Swift song. We then had a fun conversation about our pyromaniac D&D character, but she was already dating someone when I asked her out. The second girl I was talking to was gushing about her volunteer work. how she was going to create a cool little role-playing game to teach her preschool students how to manage their emotions and to relate to other people. And when I popped the question, she was already in a relationship. The third girl I met on a blind date, and it was not going too well. She seemed too stuck up, straight-laced, and she just kept talking about all the fancy stuff that she was doing with her friends. Then I readjusted my legs and my foot landed on something that certainly wasn't the floor. It was her shoe. She just flashed me this super cute smile and stuck her tongue out at me. That wrecked me. But yeah, we're seeing each other this weekend. Story 28. At work, my boss asked me to move a rack for this engineer. The engineer was a woman. It was outside and she needed it moved inside. It was an awkward shape. So awkward that a forklift couldn't lift it as it was too long and there was no stable way to lift it. But it wasn't so heavy a person couldn't move it, so I said, I could probably just carry this in by hand. And this fine woman just immediately grabs the other side of the rack and says, I'm game. Time stopped in that instant. I was just staring at this sexy woman like she was the only other person in the world. God damn, it was so hot. I don't even know exactly. Just her offering to bear half the load had me swoon or something. I'm sweating just thinking about it. Story 29. Demonstrating social fact and general intelligence. Spotted from a mile off, usually characterized by fast, witty responses, ability to restrain one's self-obsessed opinions, and a general ability to connect with whoever they're talking to, or at least not being a conversation stopper. I've seen a few that can match this criteria, and it's so attractive. But all too many at my uni are either extremely disingenuously obnoxious or are generally socially unintelligent to their surroundings. Case in point, girls who walk in groups down a corridor but all walk side by side with each other. Why does this happen so frequently? Are they unable to recognize others' need to use the corridor and to make a minor temporary concession while walking from A to B while chatting, which isn't hindered by walking in a 2x3, etc. form? Or do they think they're so important they can hinder and inconvenience others? Story 30. 99% of my conversations involve me just listening to someone else speak. Whenever I do say anything, people usually speak over me or interrupt me or ignore what I'm saying. One time in school during a group project, one of the girls in my group told everyone else in the group to continuously do this to me whenever I tried to contribute. It's been over 10 years and I still think about her and remember exactly what she looks like. I also have a bad habit of speaking under my breath from no one ever listening to me, usually about something sarcastic. I was at a big business dinner and I whispered something to myself about the guy loudly talking over everyone else being an idiot, and a girl I knew near me bust out laughing really hard, even though I swore no one else could hear me considering how low I said it. I also have a thing for voices, which I think comes from growing up being attracted to all of Grey Delisle's characters over the years. A woman with an attractive voice is something that has always immediately grabbed my attention. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.